Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. Welcome to the second episode of the Chrysallis Sessions. I'm so excited to be bringing this to you. We did the first one last week and got a really great response from all of you. I've loved seeing all of your beautiful pieces, and so here we are with our second installment. Things that we're going to need for class today are I've got my Micron PN pen, but you can use whatever Tangle pen you like. The Jelly Roll 10 from Sakura, but you could use the Uniball or a Sharpie White if you like that. I'm working with a graphite pencil, and I also have my blending stump. If you don't have a blending stump, you can always just grab a Q-tip from the bathroom. That works as a great blender. You know me, I'm a Prismacolor girl, so grab your color pencils and we're going to have a lot of fun with this. So remember, if you don't have the same colors as me, don't worry about it. Just play along and do the best that you can with what you've got. You can also see that I've got my template. Remember that the template is in the class description. So all you have to do is go out to the class description and download your template on a nice piece of cardstock or paper, and you'll be good to go. If you don't have a printer, you can always just print or draw out a 6-inch by 3-inch rectangle, and then you can also see that my butterfly is about 2.5 inches by 3 inches wide. Okay, so if you want to just draw it out, you can. Okay, so let's get started with our second edition of the Chrysallis Sessions. So we're going to start with our first tangle. You may want to grab a little scratch piece of paper here. We're going to be working with Audrey, and I just love this tangle. It's such a fun tangle, and once again, it's one of those emanating tangles. It tends to move outwards. And so what we're going to do for Audrey is, you can see that I've got my graphite pencil in my hand here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to start with a little circle. And that's the center of Audrey. And all it is you do these kind of craggly or wavy lines that kind of come out. And that one's going to just start right about there. And then I'm going to do an aura of that craggly line. And I'm going to let it join. Now I'm going to come a little bit further in on that circle and let it start to emanate outward. And I'm going to let it land at about the halfway point, or maybe a little bit less than. And then I'll go ahead and start to do another aura line and connect. I'm going to go deeper into the circle. Here comes another one landing at the halfway point. Nice craggly lines here. Love this. I used to have dahlias in my garden in San Rafael that had these kind of rough edges. And so you can see all it is it's just emanating outward as we move deeper into the center of this flower. And so we want to have these kind of neat craggly lines. And then finally I'm going to let this one hit that original line and then come in, and then I can aura it on the inside. So that is Audrey. I just love this tangle, so let's get started. So let's take away that original butterfly here, and we're going to pick up our Micron pens here. I know, dun dun dun. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do a nice soft aura, very, very gentle around the inside of the butterfly here. You know the saying, when in doubt, aura out. So that's what we're doing. I'm just going to go around and do my aura. And you can go ahead and do your aura too. And if you need to pause me here at any time, you're more than welcome to. And then we're going to start with Audrey. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start and look for that center point. And here is my center point. And once I found my center point, I'm going to do a very soft beginning to Audrey. So I'm just going to keep it nice and low, and I'm just going to stop right about there. Once I've got that, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that nice soft aura with the craggly line. You want to make sure that there's a lot of texture, and I'm going to let it meet. And then I'm going to start to build. So I'm coming a little deeper in, and I'm going to go through here and land on the edge. Coming in, make that soft line, and let it land. And so you've pretty much got the basic idea here. We're just getting that wavy line to start, and then let it touch. Nice soft aura. Let it touch when it's ready. And then continuing to work deeper into where that circle is. You can see that I'm coming out the other side when I have parts of the butterfly that are in my way. So practicing the holly bow method. Holly bow just means you're lifting up and coming out the other side and letting it connect. And this one's going to touch the edge. So there I've connected with the first one. And then I'll let it just come right in. So now you're probably saying to me, well, now what, Rami? Well, now we're going to build outward. So you can see that I've got the beginnings of this. So I'm just going to let this start to emanate from the outside and start to connect. So I'm just going in and letting it connect. And then I'll come in and find another spot. And then I'll come in and find another spot. And I'll just keep letting it build until I run out of butterfly. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. So I'm just going to jump in from the side and let it connect. And then I'll come in here, nice wavy line, and let it connect. And so this is going to be really fantastic when we start to bring in that shading. This is one of my favorite tangles to shade, I have to say. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. And then when we come back, we're going to do a really fun tangle by Angie Gettles called Bumbershoot. I love this next tangle. I just recently discovered it, and I'm not sure if Angie brought this out earlier or later, but it's one of my new favorite tangles. I love these. I especially love anything that is organic. So Bumbershoot by Angie Gettles is, you have this nice long stem with a point on it, and then you do this beautiful wavy line, and then wherever your waves are, you kind of have this line that moves upward. And I just think it's a gorgeous tangle. You can do a double bumbershoot if you want to. And this reminds me of tropical plants. This reminds me of Hawaii, or if you live in Florida, this could be a definitely fun plant from any tropical area. Now what I love about bumbershoot is that it's great for doing hollybaw. So hollybaw again is that technique of layering and going behind. And so you can see that I can do lots of really great layering with bumbershoot, which is great. And you just come in and add those little lines and you're good to go. Such a great tangle. So let's go ahead and bring that into our piece here. And the way that I like to do this is I like to start bumbershoot by going up from the corner here. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to do a nice long stem. And I'm going to make a nice point there, keeping it nice and narrow here. And then I'm going to do a singular bumbershoot here. So nice wavy line. And I'll let it connect to the butterfly. We're going to do those little lines that go upward from the curve. And then I'm going to come over to the other side and I'm going to do one that's hollybawing on the other side. So I'm going to come in from this point and I'm going to drop down. And I'm going to let this holly bough all the way through. I'm going to come back in. Creating that nice stem. And then once again, beautiful wavy line. When you get to this one, you lift up. Let it get a little wider. Lift up when you get to that butterfly and let it fall right off the page. I'm going to let those little lines come up from the indentations here. You can see my pen is a little bit old, but it's doing just fine. So now, if I want to, I can do some more bumper shoots. So I'm going to come in right in here, and I'm going to let this one go behind. Love the idea of layering this tangle, so fantastic. And letting it go behind. Don't forget those little lines. And then I think that I can let that one go all the way through here, so I'm just going to let it come down. And I'm looking for my little wavy line. And then I think I can get one more in here. I think I'm going to put one right in here. So I'm just going to come down, working through a nice narrow stem here. And then once again, wavy line, letting that come through. And I don't think I can get that through the bottom, so I'm going to leave that alone. So go ahead and finish up your bumper shoot, and when we come back, we're going to add a little bit of tipple to this. So I'm going to let some tipple come into this here. This is such a great tangle for layering tipple in. And tipple is just, remember, those little circles that are clustered together. It almost looks like sea foam. So I'm just going to bring this one in here, and I'm going to pull into these little areas that I get those little weird little triangles, and I'll round off the edges here. So I might come up in here and do some. And I'm just going to pull that in. Now I'm not going to do too much tipple in this piece because the background is going to have some wallpaper to it. So I'm going to be fairly, how shall I say? I'm going to be fairly controlled about my tipple today. Can't go crazy with the tipple. I love it. I think this is a good spot for some tipple. It's like trying to control yourself with confetti. I mean, come on, really? All right, and I'll let a couple of tipple effervesce, but not too much. So that one's going to get away. I'll let one come away over here, and maybe I'm going to put one in here. I can't help myself. Okay, so I think that's enough tipple for now. So go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're starting with color, baby. Okay, so I'm going to pick up two color pencils here. These are two of my favorite colors in the Prismacolor set. I feel like I say that all the time. Maybe it doesn't mean anything anymore. Anyway, so I've got blush pink in my hand, which is PC928, and then I also have in my hand the process red, which is PC994. These two in concert with each other are really wonderful. So this is kind of like an earthy pink, and this is a really nice kind of soft magenta. So if you've got two colors that look a little something like that, you're good to go. And if you don't have that, pick another set of colors. What I'm really looking for is a light and a dark. So if you've got a light purple and a dark purple, you're great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with two petals in here, and I'm going to just show you with these two because I think it'll really give you the idea of what's going on. So I'm going to start with the light pink first and do just a very soft dusting of that light pink inside of the petal here. And I'm going to just do it all the way through. And then I'm going to pick up that process red and I'm going to create a shadow. And that shadow is really to help us to get that depth that we're looking for in this flower here. So I've got this really soft shadow. I'm not pressing hard on this pencil. And then I'll do another one right in here. And so I'm doing this so that you can see that as you build outward, this is really going to pop. Now, once I have those two, I'm going to press a little bit harder right along the black line of the petal here. And I'm going to do the same thing right in here. This is just for drama. And then once I have that, I'm going to pick back up that pink and I'm going to blur that line of demarcation. See where the process red is meeting the light pink? I'm just doing little circles right over that line so that it blurs the edge. And I'll do the same thing in here, just blurring the edge, getting this really soft blush of color on the inside. And that's how I'm going to handle each and every one of these. So go ahead and do that same process through here, and I guarantee you'll have a really pretty emanating flower coming from the center. I just love that inside of the butterfly. It's one of my favorite new tangles, and I've been using it quite a bit lately. So let's talk about bumbershoot here. I've got two different colors in my hands here. I've got the lime peel green, which is PC1005, and I also have the Kelly green, which is PC1096. I've been on a Kelly green kick lately, and I really love this color for doing shading. So we're going to start with the lime peel green first, and you want to make sure that your lime peel green is nice and sharpened up. And remember, if you don't have the same colors as me, we're looking for is a lighter green and a darker green. So I'm just going to take that lighter green first, and I'm going to just lay down the pencil on the side of the page here, and I'm going to rub the side of the pencil into the page. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it's a much more effective way of filling in a space like this. This is a great tangle to use this kind of shading on. So you can see that I'm just rubbing that into the page, and I'm going to do the other one as well because we're going to get the effect of having the overlap and underlap. So you can see that it doesn't take me very long to fill up the space of bumbershoot. Now you'll notice that I'm not doing the stem. The stem we're going to use graphite on. Okay, so once I've got that, let's go ahead and zoom in on this here. I'm going to pick up the darker pencil. This is the Kelly green, and I'm going to do a little bit of that shading that Rick and Maria taught us back in the day, where we always do a little bit of that darker color right near where there's an overlap. Okay, now I can also do that same thing right where the butterfly is to give the shadow effect. And because this one goes all the way through, I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm looking for the stem. I'll let that come all the way through. And then I'll go ahead and I'll do a little bit of a shadow right in here. Now I'm going to pick up that lighter pencil, and I know that you already know where I'm going with this. I'm going to blur out the edge so that it's a soft transition and it doesn't feel like it's just a line that's there, right? We want a really nice soft transition with the color, and as I move away from it, I'm lightening my touch. I'll come back up here and I'll give this a little bit of a softer transition as well. And as I move away from it, I'm lightening up my touch. Now, if you love working with the white pencil from Prisma, you can always grab one of your white pencils from Prisma and you can do some blurring of the lighter color just to get it to be a little bit creamier and more pastel-like. So that when I zoom out, Look at how that has a beautiful feeling to it. Really nice transition. So go ahead and do your bumper shoots. Remember to do those shadows. And then when we come back, we're going to start to work with tipple. So you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around. Look at how I've done these shadows around the butterfly in here, down below as well. And then I've also done the shadows around in here. I can see that I can do one more shadow right up in here just to give this a little bit of interest. And then blend that out with a little bit of the lime peel green. So we're going to start to work with the background, and we'll work with tipple in a minute, but I do want to bring in the blues. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a really nice color. This is the True Blue, and I love this color. This is PC 903, and you can see that it's pretty well sharpened up here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to just lay down that pencil on its side and start to bring in that really soft light blue. And you're going to see me just kind of bounce it around all the way around in the background. And while we're doing this, I want you to keep in mind that we are going to do some heavier pressure around the outside edge. So remember to go light in here. I know the tendency is to want to lay down really heavy color, but what we're really shooting for in here is to do a very light foundation of color. So you can see that I'm just moving that pencil around in a nice circular motion, and I'm kind of bobbing and weaving around the bumper shoot here. I'm going to turn this here so that you can see what I'm up to. You can see why I didn't want to do a ton of tipple in here, because I wanted to really lay down a background. Now we are going to be doing a little bit of wallpaper in this background, and I know that many of you have seen me do wallpaper a lot with Printemps, but today we're going to be using floors for our wallpaper. And I really love floors as wallpaper. It is one of those tangles that doesn't take away from the main attraction and adds so much texture to the background. So you can see that I'm kind of bobbing and weaving down here and dancing this all around. So go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to do heavier pressure around the edges. So just like with the last class, I'm going to go ahead and start to add a little bit of that nice pressure around the outside edge. This just gets your frame to pop and contain this really great composition. I do love to do perimeter shading on a border, and for me it just makes the whole thing come to life. So you can see that I'm doing just a little bit of heavier pressure around the edges here. And then once I have that heavier pressure established the way that I want it, I can come back in and I can do even more pressure right along the black line in here. So you can see that I'm just kind of turning that tile and making it work for me. Just like so. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to bring in floors. So for blending in the background, I love to come in with that white pencil from Prisma. This is the PC 938, and this just helps to give that border a little bit of softening, and it also will kind of set that blue color into this kind of vividness. I find that the white and the blues work really, really well together, and so you can see that I'm just kind of giving this a little bit of pressure with that white and getting a really nice blend out of it. I mean, look at what it does to this corner down here. It just gives it a soft pastel feel that you just can't beat. I just love it. So let's talk about the background a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to start to do floors, and floors is really just kind of like a tic-tac-toe board. And so what this is going to look like is I'm just going to start in the center, and you can see that I'm going to be working with the true blue here. I'm just going to come right down the center, and I'm going to do a line that's going to make its way down, and then I'll go across and start to create these lines in an even fashion if I can. So you can see that I'm just letting this come along here. And just getting floors in, and it's F-L-O-R-Z, and this is a headquarters tangle. I'm just dropping that down so you can see there's my grid, right? Now I'm going to turn it on its side here, and we're going to start making that tic-tac-toe board. So this will go across, and just do your best. You know, I'm not one to use a ruler. It's not for me, but I know that there are a lot of people who feel like it needs to be that way, but I'm a Zentangle CZT 18, and it was a real no-no when I was getting my certification, and I just never grew out of that. I know some people like to use them though. And so I'm just going across here like so. And so there we've got floors, and I can even come down to the bottom and add in a couple of these down in here, maybe over here, maybe one there, and then just get in there where I can. And then for floors, wherever the line connection is, you want to make a dot. So it's little dots in all the line connections. So you can see that I'm going across the top, and then I'll come in wherever the lines are connecting. And I feel like it just makes a beautiful, soft wallpaper pattern in the background. That it just makes it interesting. I goofed there, but that's okay. Nobody's gonna notice. Opportunity. And so you can see that that's done a real service to the piece here. Now, one of the things that I also like to do is I love to add in just a little touch of the butterfly color into the background to make it look like it's a watercolor. You can do this with the pink, or you can do this, you can do it with the processed red. So I'm just going to do little soft dashes of that processed red in the background, and I'm going fairly lightly in here, and it just makes it look like it's got a little bit of a watercolor background, and I'm being as random as I can possibly be with it. And if you want to blend it in with a little bit of white, you can take your white and just do a little bit of blending with it to make it look interesting. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we'll work with tipple. So we're going to start to add some graphite to the piece here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go with tipple and just start to shade halfway through the tipple. And I'll give it a little bit of a smudge out with my blending stump. Now, if you don't have a blending stump, just grab a Q-tip and that'll work just fine. Then I'm going to come back in and give it a little bit of a heavier shade. And you'll notice that that immediately starts to bring in a little bit of interest into tipple and make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So go ahead and grab your graphite pencil and do some work with tipple, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work with the stems of our plants here. So you can already see that that's starting to bring some dimension in there. I'm going to come back to the bumper shoot here, and you're going to see me come in and just do a soft dusting of the graphite at the top and at the bottom, leaving the center of the stem of bumper shoot open. And I'll go ahead and I'll blend it a little bit. just to keep it interesting. And you can already see that it really makes that come to life, whereas these are very flat. So same thing in here, and you'll notice that when I come to spaces that I have some shadow to do, you can come in and do that shading right underneath so that you get a little bit of shadow. But I love working with sheen, and for me, I just find it to be very interesting. So you can see here, I've added a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom. Can do the same thing in here as well. So go ahead and play with these plants, add in some of those shadows to keep it interesting, and then when we come back, we're going to do some shading inside of the butterfly. So to shade inside of the butterfly here, I'm just going to come to these really fun jagged lines that we had, and just like what we just did with Bumbershoot, I'm going to do some at the top and leave the middle alone. So you can see that I'm just coming in with that graphite pencil and just adding in a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom and leaving the middle to be white. And that will be a really great way of creating sheen and light inside of the piece. So you get the idea here. It's just a really soft dusting of that graphite in there. All right, so have some fun with that too. So I've picked up my Micron PN pen here, and I'm going to come into the center of the butterfly here, and I'm going to just do a little half circle there, and I'm going to pull my ink into the center just to give this a little sheen and have it be interesting. Now this next part you could either do with your Micron pen, or if you wanted to grab an IdentiPen, you could grab your IdentiPen and do it with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outside area of the butterfly in here, and I'm going to fill it in, and you can see that I have my PN, or rather my IdentiPen in my hand here, and you can see how easy this is for me to fill in. Now if you want to do this with your Micron, you can do it with your Micron. You can do this with your favorite puddle pen. This could be if you don't have one of these, you could use a Sharpie, you could use the Faber-Castell brush pen, you could use the Micron brush pen. There are so many different pens that are wonderful for this, but you can see that the nib on this is really nice and thick, and that's what helps this to go a little bit more quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fill in the outside edge of my butterfly, and you can go ahead and do yours as well. And I hope that you enjoy what this does, because this is really going to bring in a little bit of a graphic nature to this piece and give it a little bit of a punch or a little bit of a push. All right, so go ahead and do yours. Isn't that so fun? It just pops right off the page. So I've got my white Sharpie in my hand here. This is one I've been really reaching for a lot lately. This is the water-based ultra fine point pen from Sharpie. And a lot of the time my students will tell me they have trouble with the gel pens, and so I think these paint pens are a great alternative. Some people like the Posca ones. I've been really digging the Sharpie lately, and you can see that all I'm doing is just really dropping in and putting just a couple of these little arcs into the piece just to get it to glimmer and shimmer. So go ahead and add some of those into your piece. So I've picked back up my Micron PN pen, and I'm going to go ahead and put my chop on my piece here, and this just helps me to signify that I'm done with the piece here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring back in my original piece too. And I love how every time I come back to this, it's always slightly different and a little bit interesting. So on this one, I kept the gray in the middle, but this one I put the black in the middle. This one has a little bit more tipple in it that's effervescing, whereas this one has them more close to the plants. It's always something different, but I really do enjoy the process. So I hope you've enjoyed the class. If you did, give it a thumbs up or a nice review. Even even better, hit the subscribe button, and then that way you'll be notified every time I drop a new class on my channel here. So until we see each other next time, enjoy the Chrysallis Sessions, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.